estás?
How do you say yarrow?
Welcome to How Do You Say Yarrows?
How do you say yarrow? How do you say yarrow?
It'll be all the fun in the world. What up?
What is it to do?
Read it, did to do.
We are so ready to talk about this topic with everybody.
I got a lot of issues with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
It's not Festivus.
Or is it?
Are you
No.
just happy that I knew where that quote is from?
I'm so very proud of that.
Thank you.
And if only you watched the rest of Seinfeld.
No.
Oh, anyway. Today we are talking about...
Alright, today we're going to talk about questions that are the repeated questions you're going to hear when you're pregnant and people know that you're pregnant.
Yep. There are going to be a series of things, and it's very funny to watch the observation.
Yes.
Because no one, when we say these, everybody means them in great ways. But it is something that you kind of wish at moments you had like a name tag on you
Yes.
with just quick answers to this.
And I'm certain someone's made these t-shirts or something, but we have not invested in them. I'm sure they exist on Etsy or something like that, but like if you just had like a name tag or like a sign over you and you could just point to it, like this would be a worthy thing to have at some point in the time that you're pregnant. So again, not necessarily any negative connotation. People mean this with all loveliness. It's just you will hear these questions on repeat. And this is from like a combination of our experience and also from what we see as well. Okay? So,
Yeah,
and we've seen that they're different based on whether people are talking to me or Adam.
Yep.
So that we think is probably consistent with other people. We're guessing that from our own experience that people ask specific questions more frequently to the dad and other questions more frequently to the mom.
Lock and load.
Let's see.
Do you want to go first?
Yes. Okay.
What is the number one question?
Number one question that people ask me as the mom, the Prager mom, or one of the number one. It's tough because there are some frequent flyers here, but
Frequent flyers?
Yes.
Ooh la la.
A number one question they ask you if you're pregnant as the mom, how are you feeling?
I mean, that's a great question. It's very polite.
It's very sweet. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, it's a very sweet question. It's very well-meaning. I will say, personally, it's a hard question to answer.
It's
Because
reasonable.
if you think about it, like, you know, even just in normal life, I think that the question, how are you? I personally think that that's a tough question.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't feel like people like an honest answer.
Right. I mean, and people don't mean it to be insincere. Like, I think when people say it, they mean the essence of that. But in reality, you don't really have time to really get into how someone is or, like, all those things. But it's just, it's kind of what we do. It's like, how are you? And it's nothing wrong with it. It's in passing. And it's just automatic for people. I think they see, like, the belly and they're like, how are you feeling? You know? And it totally makes sense. But as the pregnant person, I just think, how are you supposed to answer it? Because on the one hand, if you're feeling great, you could say, oh, I'm feeling great. And then typically the follow-up is like, oh, really? Like, well, that's going to change, kind of. That's what
It's very foreboding.
They kind of do that. They're like, oh, really? You know? And then, or if you're, you know, if you're not feeling great, like, how do you really say that? Like, are you really going to say, like, well, I'm having round ligament pain? Like, I mean, what are you going to say? Like, I'm actually really sore, and the baby just, like, you know, gave me a lightning kick. Like, I don't know. I mean...
Real jerk, baby.
I mean, it's great. The baby's doing its thing. I've played around with my response, trying to be, like, honest, but also, like, that balance, that classic balance of, like, how much does someone want, you know, in this moment. So, that's a pretty typical... That's a frequent flyer if there is one. And that's all the way through pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you got to know. I'm curious, like, how you doing?
How you feeling? I've done the same thing. It's just, I will say, it's kind of a tricky one to answer.
It's a bit of a sticky wicket, if you will.
Do you think there's a better way to answer it? What do you think? Like, as maybe like an outsider, like, you know, what answer are you looking for? I guess.
You know, I think it's like, hey, I just want to know how you feeling. How could I help you?
How you feeling?
Maybe just brutal honesty. Yeah, the baby just kicked me in my bladder. I gotta pee. Hold my
that's kind
stuff.
of fun. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy those answers personally.
Yeah, order me a milkshake
Not to
and
be
pay
dramatic,
for it.
but yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Or I think I've heard people say, when they've been asked, I've heard people say pregnant. Which, you know, on the one hand, it's like that's like an all-encompassing all answer, so at least you don't have to get specific.
Yeah.
You're feeling pregnant. But, you know, there's no reason, I mean, you also don't want to be feisty. It's just like you're trying to like give a blanket answer.
What's that Katy Perry song, You're Hot and You're Cold?
You're hot, then you're cold. I don't know. I don't like Katy Perry. But
I was
know
going to
the
say,
song.
that kind of is the explanation. I'd use that song title as the overall
I go hot
cover.
and then cold.
I'm yes and then I'm no.
I mean, I think also, I think another one that I've defaulted to is tired. But I also don't love when someone asks you, like, how are you feeling or how are you, like, saying tired. Because even though it's the first thing on your mind, it doesn't give a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to complain either about being tired. Like, I didn't bring it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's also like when somebody, I've heard people always say they're tired. Like, clearly something is wrong in your life, or maybe we need to, you know,
Right. When
get
people
you,
repeatedly say it, you feel like they're complaining.
well, or that is something wrong. Like, do we need to get you help?
Right.
Like, if there's a medical reason here, like,
Well,
yeah.
that would make sense, though. A pregnant woman saying, I feel tired. It's kind of like, I mean, then I feel like the other person's like, oh, but I mean, you can't do anything for them.
yeah, no.
If someone says they're tired, like, you can't do anything for it. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. What about you? What is a frequent flyer question for
I've gotten this.
Daddy Yaros?
I feel like I've talked to somebody about this. It was in a sermon I preached. This is where I talked about it.
Okay, nice.
It was the question that men posed to me, solely men,
Oh.
almost solely men, is, are you ready? And no matter what I say, the answer is you're not ready. And that always, I struggle with it. Because in some ways, I'm not saying I'm ready on every level, but yet where I'm at is like, okay, if we're talking like, well, this sounds like you're making into something that nobody could ever be ready for, like this cataclysmic event where you understand, like, yeah, you're screwed. It's over. Calling the medics. They're gonna just put him down, tag and release the body.
I love it.
And it's because I'm not claiming that I know I'm ready to what having a baby entails, but I'm more of thinking of like, okay, and this is maybe so weird. Maybe I'm just thinking more straightforward of like pretty practical. Okay, the dresser's almost finished assembled in the baby's room. We need to get the crib. It's like, okay, like as far as I could be ready, I'm going to be ready. In my mind, that's the very evaluative tool.
Right.
Yes. Oh, yes. Are you ready to have the emotional connection that comes with marriage and combining your bank accounts? I don't know. That's going to happen when we get there. However, some of the other parts of like, okay, have you figured out where you're living? Okay, you're good to go. You got the basics. That's where it's like, it's, okay, you're asking me this question just to berate me here. What is going on?
It's like a trick.
I'm being attacked.
You're a little bit being tricked in that moment, do you think?
Well, I'm being asked a question and you're telling me I'm wrong. Or you don't even give me a chance to respond.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Guys love it. And it's like, also there's this sense of like, I've talked with a bunch of people and it's like, your life is over when you have kids, essentially. You won't work out, you won't be able to do anything. I'm like, I gotta tell you, I feel like people have done a lot after they have kids. Like, if that's the case, at 20, you've peaked for some people. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
Your life is done.
You're done. You're finished.
So, yeah, that's the killer question for me. That's where I always get it.
I have actually. It's really funny you say that because recently this hasn't happening. So we're at 33 weeks now. So 8 months. So we're far along at this point. So I will not. It wasn't happening earlier months, but in like the recent month now. So now that we're farther along. Actually, people have been asking me. They've started asking. I've had some people ask me specifically, "Is Adam ready?"
What is? I'm ready.
I don't know. That's so funny. That's so interesting. So they're asking specifically, "Is Adam ready?" Or is Adam is Adam ready? That's like literally the way they phrase
I'm
it.
as ready
And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah.
as a preborn father can be. If you're asking me, do I want to stay up all night? No. Nobody does. I don't, and there's no way to know what this kid's going to be like. For all I know, he could come out smoking a cigarette and ordering a fine steak.
No, he will not. Well, that would be amazing. That would be interesting.
We don't know. We don't know what he's going to be like.
We don't know.
I hope he doesn't smoke. That'd be tough. Have to break that down pretty quick in life. Young lungs.
Okay, I got another one.
What's your next?
This one, I will say, I feel like I feel like I've heard people ask you this, but I don't know if you feel like it's frequent or not. I feel like it's pretty frequent for me, and I feel like sometimes people ask us actually together, as opposed to just like throwing this question at me. They will say,
Excuse me.
they will say, are you excited?
That's a complicated question.
Are you excited? Right? You hear that?
Yeah.
It's an adorable question.
Yep.
And I actually could see myself asking the same question to someone, because it's like, oh my gosh, this big thing's happening. Are you excited? It's like, you know, let's say someone's going on this huge vacation in 2 months. And I guess you might say, oh, are you excited? I don't know. So I get it, but it is an interesting question.
It's a lot
When
of...
talking about your child arriving. And also, for me, the giving birth aspect.
You mean the child's exit
The child's
strategy?
exit strategy, yeah.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Slip and slide.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. It's a weighty question.
Yeah. I mean, I just treat it as not, but like it always does. You know what? I know it's not a weighty question. Like in the moment, it's just like a quick, sweet, like, oh, are you excited? And I'm sure the answer is supposed to be, oh my gosh, yes. But like, depending on where I'm at, my temperament of the day, and what I've been reading that day, like if that was a day that I was reading the part of the book about, I don't know, breached babies or epidurals, I'm in a little bit more of a different place versus another part of the day where we just got a really wonderful gift from somebody and there are a bunch of adorable baby clothes that I can picture snuggling him in, right? So I will say there have been times when someone's asked me that, and I have said like, yeah, I'm, and also terrified. And there have been other times where someone has asked me that and I'm like, yeah, like we're stoked. And then other times where someone's asked and I'm just kind of like a deer in headlights, like, I have so many emotions. Yes, all of them, yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Very fair. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like saying, are you excited to move? Well, kind of.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes in with moving.
I guess it's always going to be a yes. I'm so excited to meet this baby
Assuming
that we
he's
have
cool.
not met. He's going to be so cool and also funny. I'm so excited to meet him. Also, I am also feeling other emotions that when you say excited, it makes me think of those other emotions.
Aww.
So, what is that? Is there another question?
I've only got one other question, really.
Okay, and I have one other one too.
All right. How's Gabby feeling?
Oh, really?
Yep. And it's
Very sweet.
it's wonderful, but I also don't know how to say it because it's a very complicated question. Because you're good, I do think you've had an excellent pregnancy, at least. So it's, just keep saying she's doing great. We're excited to meet the baby because it's a lot. How do you explain the nuances of pregnant life?
Oh my gosh, that's
bending
true.
over is painful.
Yes.
But you can see an arm punching through your skin, which is both cute and terrifying.
So cool and
kind of reminds me of an orc being birthed in Isengard in the second Lord of the Rings.
That's gross.
I know. It's tough. I'm sorry.
I remember that.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
Viewers.
It's a visceral
It's
video.
real. It's
Yeah.
real stuff here. But that's why we're on this podcast. Not for the half and half stuff that you get on those other pregnant and loving it blogs.
I will say that if anybody asks Adam that question, in my experience, Adam is a very even keel responder. So, like, let's say, a couple months ago, I got COVID for the second time. But this time I got COVID while I was pregnant. And Adam was on the phone with someone informing them we had just received a positive COVID test for me. It was kind of a surprise. We thought it was allergies.
Yep.
So he was informing that person. And at the same time, I'm on the phone with a friend. And I had texted her that I got COVID. My sister had gotten COVID. I was like nervous in that moment. And I was nervous about the baby. I was nervous about my sister because Caitlin has ALS. And it was very terrifying. And she was in a real rough way. And so I was like kind of weeping, like on the phone to my friend. It would all just we just got the result.
Yeah.
I just was telling my family, so it was all happening at that moment. So I'm telling her I'm crying. She's praying for me. Well, she started praying for me, and that's when I started crying. So we're on the phone crying, and Adam, I hear him like in the next room, and I kind of hear the person ask, "How's Gabby doing?" Because he had just told them, "Oh, like I don't have COVID, but Gabby just found out she did." And Adam on the phone while I'm weeping in the other room, he goes, yeah, you know, I mean, she was a little upset, but she's doing pretty good.
I didn't know you were weeping at the
You
time.
can hear me. You can hear me. And he actually got off the phone pretty, like minutes after that, because he's like, actually, I gotta go real quick. Can I call you right back? And he gets off the phone, comes over, and goes, is everything okay? And I was like, yes. And he actually thought something had happened with Caitlin. He thought that's why I was crying.
Yeah.
I think because you were like, he didn't know who I was on the phone with. And I was like, no, Marcia's praying for me. I'm on the phone, and, you know, it was, you know. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, sounds good. And then he went in the other room and called his person back and talked to them. So, just, you know, Adam's very even-keeled.
Takes a lot to shape me.
If you're asking how I am, you know, just take it with a grain of salt, maybe.
You know,
Or ask him specifically, has Gabby wept recently? And you might get a different answer. Only if you want that answer, though.
I'm not a very emotional person. You know, people think because I'm chipper and cheery and whatnot, but really, there's not a lot going on the inside.
Hey, you have a lot of deep emotions. I'm just saying, if someone's asking you to accurately document my emotions, I think it's interesting, your perspective on them.
Well, I
think it's great. I think it's great.
I'm doing the sum total, not a moment.
In fact, I ended up doing fine
You were great.
in that moment, so it was fine.
Yeah, I'm more about like the sum average of everything
course.
going on,
Of
not
course.
just like,
You're looking at the
okay,
overall.
yeah, you cried right now. Okay, you have COVID. On the whole, she's pretty healthy.
I love it.
Hey, I don't want to be fazed by this momentary pause.
Right, okay, all right.
Oh, you got one F. Oh, you're a failure as a student. No, you had one F. It's okay.
Right, you're right.
Not really.
Okay, my final...
Last question.
My last question that people constantly ask, and I feel in our experience, and I think from what I've seen from other people, but I can't be sure. So people constantly, or in frequent bouts, I would say, like it's in like bouts, they often ask if we have named our child yet.
Ah, the progeny's name.
Yes, and you know what's really nice about it is people are interested in our child's name, which I love and I very much appreciate. I think it's interesting that I think people typically ask me, and I don't see them asking you as much.
I think they ask me.
Do they ask you?
People ask me.
They ask you if you've named the kid yet?
Yeah, or maybe they just
Or
don't
if you
think I'm
have a
going to
name.
tell them on things.
Oh, maybe that's like a personality thing between the two of us.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're more mysterious.
I'm not mysterious. I just don't want to tell people everything about my life.
And I like to tell people everything.
Yeah, I don't think
So people might just know that about us.
I don't think mysterious is a fair word here. I'm repressed.
No, I don't know. I think you're a little mysterious, but okay. So maybe that's a both of us thing. I will say we were recently at a function because I had said this to Adam. I think people typically and I feel bad because, you know, when we don't have the name, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to tell, and I'll literally say this to people. I'll say, we would love to share the name as soon as we have the name because we want to start calling him by name, but we haven't chosen yet. And I can't do it any faster. We're still praying about it. We're still marinating on it. We just haven't decided on the name. And I'll throw out, like, and they'll be like, oh, well, are you even going to tell me, like, list of name? I'm like, sure. And I've, like, given list of name, but sometimes people aren't satisfied with that. Sometimes people are. They're like, okay, cool, and they move on.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like, oh, so you just don't want to tell. People have literally said to me, they're like, oh, so you just don't want to tell us the name? And I'm like, no, I'm not being, like anything mysterious. I'm telling you, I would love to tell you the name. I haven't chosen the name yet, so I can't tell you the name.
Stiff.
So that's kind of funny. But I had said to Adam, I think people ask me more frequently. Like, I think they ask the mom more frequently than the dad. What do you think? And he was like, I don't know. But then we went to a party, an event.
Oh, yeah,
and
everybody was asking.
We were both there, and he was there, and all the directions, the questions were directed at me. Truly, how many times do you think I was asked?
What was this
with
party
you
again?
standing there? Well, we don't have to name the festivity.
Yep. It was all over the place. It was literally
It was
left
constant.
and right. It was.
I honestly think I might have been asked 16 times. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think 16 times. When you count, some people ask me multiple times.
Yeah.
Like
no.
the same person.
You know-
And they didn't ask Adam. So at least when we were together,
But, well, I think
for
if-
whatever reason, it was directed at me.
Well, I think on my own I might get more. But to be fair,
Yeah.
if you're there and present, I feel like people are just going to ask you because they're going to go to the person with the knowledge of what's going on. I think most people assume, and fairly often correct, that the husband doesn't know what's really happening in all of this. So
Okay.
I think that is, and also, maybe I put on some defensive measures, but I sincerely mean this. And even now, if somebody is willing to pay for the entirety of our child's college education based on inflated inflation, so obviously this is 20 or 18 years out from now, including rooming and housing, and we'll base this off a state university, they can name the baby whatever they want, including the last name.
That's horrifying.
And I still will gladly do that. Gabby will be epiduraled, and I will sell you the rights. But it's cash up front.
Oh my word.
And it only takes effect once it's deposited.
So I think that's all our questions. Those are the biggies. I can't think of any other ones. I'm sure there's some, but...
Well, and if you want to name our baby, and you have, I'm assuming it'll be about $100,000 in cash, please, you can let us know. Also, if he gets scholarships and goes for free, the money is still ours, for the record. And by ours, I mean his. But really
Perfect.
ours.
That's it.
See you later.